Hey guys, OGalbina here, bringing you guys our BBL Wi-Fi season. Oh man, is it season 3 or 4 of Wi-Fi? I think it's season 4. It's our first season of BBL Wi-Fi. I'm very excited. Huge shout out to Liv for giving me a spot, let me participate. I love Ubers. I love Wi-Fi. Uber's Wi-Fi leagues. I have so much fun playing them, and I'm excited that in the Crown Tundra we finally have the opportunity to, play in another one and be able to use these cool broken mons on screen and a manner in which we usually wouldn't be able to. So it should be a lot of fun. I'm very excited to jump into this draft. We were actually blessed with a very solid pick, and I believe it was 4th overall, which meant we were going to get one of the broken 24-point mons. And again, this is a point system draft. I believe we had 125 points, I want to say. And I actually love our team. I think we ended up with a really nasty squad, and I'm really excited to showcase it to you guys. But before we jump into that, of course, do gotta mention, if you haven't subbed to the channel already, this is your first video, or even watched them, on and off over the last couple months, go ahead and do me a big favor, hit that sub button. We got plenty of draft content going up. We already have NCP that went live. I believe BPR would have went live by now. The draft analysis for that, I haven't done so for that one. Oops. Well, it's going to be up. Regardless, and then we also have BBL, so plenty of draft league content, plenty of Sword and Shield Wi-Fi battles, showcasing a lot of these mons in a small gun setting, and plenty of good content. So if that's what you're you into, you enjoy this kind of stuff, definitely consider dropping a sub. We're pushing towards 400 by the end of the year, and I'd really appreciate if you're able to help us hit that goal. But with that being said, let's go ahead and jump on into our round 1 pick. Now, round 1, like I said, and I guess you probably, assumed as much from the thumbnail and the first slide there, we were able to get a broken 24-point mon, which was the max amount, which meant that we unfortunately couldn't grab 2 Ubers. I believe it was cut off at like 23 and below. You could, draft an Uber. I believe we had max points of 41 for Ubers, and it was either 41 or 42, and Ubers were cut off at 18, I want to say. But that essentially meant that if you got one of the really busted Ubers, like Marshadow or Yveltal or Xerneas or Zekrom or something like that, like the real titans of this format, you weren't able to get another Uber, and I heavily considered not grabbing Marshadow simply because of that. I wanted to potentially go another route. Like when I played BBL Showdown, I had Rayquaza plus Libros Race, and it was sick nasty. But I couldn't pass up the opportunity to try Marshadow in a draft league setting. And the few Ubers leagues I've played in, every time I've prepped for this thing, I've just thrown up my hands. There's not much you can do about this mod defensively. Its stabs are absolutely ridiculous together. It has Technician, so it gets Technician boosted Shadow Sneaks and Rock Tombs and things like that. We have access to Bulk Up. Spectral Thief, is that what the move's called? I always forget exactly what it's called. I'm like 99% sure it's Spectral Thief. Yeah, it is a phenomenal signature move, allowing us to steal the boost of our opponent before we attack them. So if we go in, we're playing like let's say we're playing a Rayquaza and we're Sash Marshadow. We come in on a +1/+1 Rayquaza, it Dragon Ascends us, so be it. I live that hit on my Sash, I Spectral Thief, I take that +1/+1 for my own, and then I knock that thing out, or at least put it in range of a Shadow Sneak. So that's obviously absolutely amazing. It did get access to Poltergeist this gen as well, which is an even stronger Ghost Stab option if we need that extra power for Marshadow. It has a phenomenal speed tier in base 125 as well as 125 attack, so it's hitting pretty hard too. Decent natural bulk, not the bulkiest thing, but this thing's main goal is going to be coming in and hitting hard. I had to play this thing 2 times in BBL Silver Volley last season, and I lost to it both times because this mod is nuts. There's not much in the game that is going to take on that Ghost plus Fighting Stab, especially on the physical side, and I'm really excited to try Marshadow, and really excited to potentially draft a team around it this season. But let's go ahead and jump on into round 2. Round 2 comes along, and I wanted to grab a very solid Steel type to really pressure those fairies that can kind of take Marshadow on. The things that at least want to switch in on close combat, because, I mean, other than fairies, the only thing that really switches into close combat in the game is going to be opposing ghosts, which I blow back with ghost moves, and opposing bulky psychics, which I blow back with ghost moves. So fairy is the only type that objectively really checks Marshadow super well, and I figured Melmetal would be a great mon to really punish those types of mons. Obviously, when you think of Melmetal and Smogon, you think of the Banded set, it just throwing off Banded double Iron Bashers, which is great. I think Melmetal is great in that sense. I think in draft that does become a little bit more iffy, just because of the fact that your opponent can build for it, and they can throw a Rocky Helmet on them on, and they're gonna take a lot. You're gonna take a lot of damage in that sense. But Melmetal has great use outside of that. Obviously, like the Acid Armor or Iron Defense Body Press sets are great. I think Assault Vest Melmetal is phenomenal. It's great with the Resist Berry. It's phenomenal under Trick Room if we do end up drafting anything to set up that Trick Room for melee. It's really good. And then we have two very contrasting speed tiers. So we won't raw lose to Trick Room. We won't raw lose to offense, which is like, fast, high octane offense, which I think is honestly absolutely amazing. I'm really excited to use Melmetal. I've used it in a Showdown League once before. Had a lot of fun with it. And I'm hoping it shows similar results here. But let's go ahead and jump on into round 3. Round 3 comes along, and my boy Necro is still there. And much to my surprise, it's still there. By the way, I had to pick it up. I haven't used Necro since APA, where it was my kill leader. It was the kill leader in the league, so it's a mod I definitely have a lot of experience with, and something I'm very, very, very comfortable in using. It's incredibly versatile. It gives me my first Stealth Rocker, and I feel like picking up types that, types of ones that get Stealth Rock that don't typically get them, like a Psychic type that gets rocks, is very important on this team because I grabbed a Steel type that doesn't get rocks and Melmetal, which is a big downside to it. So I really like Necro in that sense. Obviously, it's got a plethora of setup options, whether it being physical with Dragon Dance and Swords Dance, whether it being special with Calm Mind, whether it just being like autotomized, 3 attacks with like a weakness pulse or something like that. It also gets access to Trick Room for Melmetal, which is awesome, so we can control the speed a little bit. We're slowly starting to kind of bridge the gap between, ridiculously fast Marshadow and like really slow Melmetal. I think Necro falls like right in the middle, which is honestly awesome. Like I said, incredibly versatile, incredibly bulky. I can take on those bulky offensive fightings that are gonna, give melee some trouble. And it's just a great overall Pokemon, especially for the price point and the point in which we got it in round 3. I can't pass up on value like that. I think Necro's a nuts mon, and I think this will translate to an Ubers format, and I'm really excited to use it again. I'm very, very comfortable with. Now, round 4, you look at my team. What's my Ghost Resist? What do I do about opposing offensive Ghosts, other than try and revenge them with Marshadow? The answer is nothing. My team lost to a good Ghost type at this point, so I wanted to pick something up that was able to take them on, and I ended up going Crocodile. Now, we have Crocodile in another league at the moment, and I'm pretty sure... I mean, is it really that big of a deal? We have Crocodile and BBR. Again, I think BBR has gone up at this point, but if it hasn't, my bad. We got Crocodile and BBR as well. But I don't mind drafting it twice. It's a phenomenal Pokemon. It's a phenomenal rocker. It gives me a ground type as well to soak up those electric type hits and, not be Volt Switch all around on. And again, it gives me that dark type. It gives me that Ghost Resist, as well as another Stealth Rocker, which is important. Again, we drafted a Steel type that doesn't get rocks, and that honestly is something that makes me really uncomfortable as a player. So that's obviously really, really nice. There's cool bulk up options. It can go Scarfed and Moxie. It can go, Scarfed and Intimidate still, and really, soft check a lot of physically offensive threats. And it's just an overall very, very solid Pokemon. I'm excited to use Crook again, in 2 leagues. It's a mon I'm pretty comfortable with, and I think we used to pretty good success. So yeah, let's go ahead and jump on into round 5. Mascot Pick, baby. We got Ments. I'm so excited to use Ments on Wi-Fi. My goal going into all my Crown Tundra leagues was to get Ments in at least one of my leagues, and I figured this one was phenomenal. We have a great Ice Resist in Melmetal, and spoilers, next up we pick another phenomenal Ice Resist. I absolutely love Salamence, not only because it's one of my favorite Pokemon ever, it's a Mascot Pick and all that good stuff, but honestly also just because of the sheer versatility of this Pokemon, especially in a Generation 8 format. A lot of people, when they think of Salamence, they think this thing is very strong, and it clicks Dragon Dance, and it kills things like that, which is fair. It's a phenomenal Dragon Dance sweeper, especially with Intimidate facilitating setup, or Moxie really compounding boost and really making it a potent offensive threat. If you give it a KO, you might be in a bad spot, because then it's +2, then 3 and 4, and then your whole team's gone. Obviously, the heavy-duty boots also helping facilitate setup a little bit more. But another thing I really like about Salamence is its versatility. Like I said, it can go physical, be that DD threat, or it can go full special. It can go mix and be a strong wall breaker. This thing, while it has 130 attack, it's got 110 special attack, which means it's going to hit very, very hard on the special side, especially with its great coverage, its great high base power moves. It got access to Hurricane this generation, which is awesome. I believe it also got access to Hydro Pump this generation, which is pretty funny, and stuff like that, which is great. It also got access to Air Slash. You can drop through big Dracos, which is really, really cool. So it has a big presence on the special side, and then it's Bulkman. This thing is still very, very bulky. It is a pseudo-legendary. It has 95, 80, 80 bulk, which is nothing to scoff at when you factor in Intimidate and potentially Boots or Resist Berry or something like that. So it feels a really good, nice bulky, nice bulky roll as well. With the Intimidate and stuff like that. This is a mon I had a lot of success with when I used it recently in APA Evolution. It was my kill leader. I had so much fun using and building with this thing, and I really think it, fits to my strengths. And that was before I got Dual Wing Beat. And Dual Wing Beak's another amazing toy for this thing, giving it a physical flying stab that's not fly, making those DD sets that everybody thinks of that much more terrifying, which means people are going to perform that much harder, and I'm going to bring special. I'm going to drop a hurricane, and I'm going to do 80% to your physically defensive check that's trying to come in and get me. So I'm very excited to use Mence again, and I think it actually fits on this team very well, especially as we go later on in more picks. You'll kind of see what I mean by that. Speaking of water resist, next up we grab big Milotic. Milotic pairs really well with the rest of my team. It's honestly a really solid defensive blue. It gives me that fire resist for Melly. It gives me that ice resist for Croak. And Mence. It also gives me just a great overall really bulky pivot. Obviously throwing off Scalds and Ice Beam is going to be super free. You got access to Flip Turn this gem, which gives it momentum, making it a little bit less passive, though it does have Haze and a pretty solid speed tier for a really bulky Mon, which honestly lets it stop a lot of setup and potentially be annoying like that. And it also has Dragon Tail if we think that Taunt's coming over Substitute and stuff like that. So I haven't really gotten the chance to try Milo in draft. It's a mod I've always really wanted to try. I've always seen people have a lot of success with it. But I haven't really gotten the opportunity to give it a shot myself. But I think it fits very well on this team in particular, and really patches a lot of the holes that the rest of my roster has, and can be a real big nuisance to a lot of rosters if they don't have sufficient ways of breaking it. So I'm really excited to use Milo, and I think it complements the rest of our mods well. Next up, we got Tapu Bulu. This is another member I actually had with Salamence on my APA Evolution team. The rest of the team is a little different. I don't got a 0 on this one, but I do love Bulu, and I think it actually helps out our team pretty well. It gives us terrain for Melee, which I think is honestly phenomenal. One, giving it that passive recovery on a really bulky mon that doesn't get its own recovery, but two, weakening the earthquakes that want to potentially come out and do big damage to us. It gives us a fairy type. It gives us a ground resist, which up to this point we do not have anything for an offensive ground type besides maybe a fat Mence or something like that. So this really does help out. Now, it is really unfortunate that Bulu, one, didn't get Grassy Glide, and two, didn't get Play Rough. I did want Rillaboom in this slot, but Rillaboom was actually sniped for me literally the pick before I got this. And I was very upset with Mr. D-Ray, but I did snipe Marshadow from him one pick before him, so I guess that's just justice in that sense. But I still really do like Bulu. I think it's incredibly strong. It still did get close combat. It still does have Swords Dance and Horn Leech and Stone Edge, and it still is ridiculously strong, can pass off Leech Seeds and stuff like that, be a really bulky, annoying threat. Bulk up sets are phenomenal as well. It gets Zen Headbutt for pesky poisons, and we do have great pivots into its weaknesses. Milo and Melee honestly cover it pretty well on the defensive side of things, so I think Bulu actually fits well here, and I kind of want to show that despite it not getting those new toys, Bulu is still a very good Pokemon in the draft setting, and it's a Pokemon I've had a lot of success with in the past, and I think I'll have some good success with here. Might not come every game, and I definitely want to grab another Fairy down the line, because I want my Fairy to be able to beat Dragons, but it's still very good nonetheless, and I'm excited to give Bulu another go, despite it not having the cool toys I got to use with it last time. Big fan, the Rotom fan gives us another potential pivot into ground types, gives us another way to break bulky waters. Right now it's just Bulu, and Bulu doesn't want to switch in on a Scald, so I figured Rotom fan was great value in that aspect. It also gives us Defog, which is another great option. Our only Defog up to this point was actually Mence, and that's not good because my team is very liable to get Spike stacked at this point. Incredibly liable to get Spike stacked, so that gives me a great option. Boots really upping this thing's defensive utility as well. People often look at Rotom Fan as like the meme of the Rotoms, but I honestly love this Pokemon. The only Rotom that I've tried that I didn't really enjoy was Rotom Frost. I think this thing has great defensive utility, even if it has a useless ability being Levitate and a Flying type. It's still very good nonetheless. Bulky Nasty Plot sets are very annoying. I think the stab combination of Electric plus Flying is actually pretty solid, especially being that one of the best resistance to Electric is going to be Grass. We're going to be able to take that on. We can push through a lot of ground types because we honestly obviously check those very well, so it can be very annoying to deal with in that sense, and I really do like Rotom as a potential low tier value. I think it fits really well on this team and giving me a nice little backup option to potentially get away hazards, giving me a little bit more momentum, and giving me a way to break those fat, annoying waters. Now round 9 comes along, and like I said, I really want to get a secondary fairy. I'm not a big fan of drafting Bulu without Play Rough if I don't have a secondary fairy, because it is very liable to make you lose to scary offensive dragons, and this is an Ubers League where there's lots of scary offensive dragons. So we grabbed Aromatise. Aromatise not only gives me that fairy, it gives me Wish support for the rest of my team, outside of Salamence, which does have Wish, but I don't want to have to run it if I don't need to. But it's great Wish support for things like Melmetal and Bulu and Rotom and even Mence potentially, which is honestly really great, and it gives me Trick Room, which is obviously another great option. Right now we only have Necro for Trick Room, might not be able to bring that every single week, so This gives us an option to really control the speed with our Melmetal and put in some work like that, which is obviously great. It's a bit meh because it doesn't have any way of really touching seals, but I think the rest of our team takes them on pretty darn well. We got a Marshadow, we got, Melmetal that switches in and takes them on pretty well, and, the rest of our mons either don't care about them defensively or can push through them offensively pretty well. So, I'm honestly okay with that, and I'm not going to stay in on a steel type anyway, so might as well have other mons that can take care of it and have Aromatise just play the support role and not be, forced into running, Hidden Power Fire like it would in Gen 7 because you're scared of those things. But yeah, let's go ahead and jump on into our next pick. Next up, we grabbed Rosemary. Rosemary gives me a grounded poison. It gives me a grass type. Though we already have one with Bulu, I'm not too worried about stacking up on these, especially with a 3-point value that Roselia ends up giving me. Not too big of a deal. It gives me T-Spikes, which is nice for this team. It gives me regular spikes, which is amazing for this team. The fact that I didn't have regular spikes is honestly a big downside. And Rosemary is a great mod to bring if I do think my opponent has some subpar removal and I can get away with spikes, stacking them up, and really pushing through them with Marshadow. So I'm pretty happy with that. And like I said, it gives me a grounded poison, so I'm not going to get T-Spiked myself. Because there are some members on my team that don't appreciate that, like Milo and Crook and Aromatise and things like that. So I think that is really honestly a nice little value pick for us. Again, it's not going to come very often, especially being that we have a whole ass Tapu Bulu on our team. But it's pretty solid. And I like having another grass with the thing too because it doesn't resist ground, and Bulu helps us with that. So obviously pretty solid there. And yeah, let's go ahead and jump on into our last pick, which I know it doesn't show any more slots on the bottom, but I actually forgot to like unhide the bottom slot because I forgot we have one more mon after this, and he's the star of the show, so we of course gotta give him his respect. So let's go ahead and jump on into our 11th pick. Like I said, the GOAT is here. 1 point Porygon. I actually really like this pick for this team. I know a lot of you maybe are kind of questioning why I would draft regular Porygon in a draft league where there's things like Marshadow running around. But I think it helps my team a lot. If you look at my team, I have a pretty big issue with offensive ghost types. I alluded to it earlier. Right now, our only real ghost resist is going to be Crocodile. The rest of our team really doesn't appreciate them, so I wanted to potentially have that immunity. And not only does it give me that immunity, it gives me a momentum and teleport, and it also gives me Trick Room for Melmetal. So now I have 3 Trick Room setters, and I have some slower, lower end stuff that can really take advantage of that, especially being Melmetal. So I'm not too upset with that, in all honesty. I actually think it's pretty solid for our team in particular. Like I said, it gives me that momentum, it gives me that Trick Room setter, and it gives me that Ghost immunity. It can take on, honestly, most of these. I have this in a Showdown League, and it's so fat. I think I was taking like 40% from a +2 Coco Thunderbolt, from full, which is absolutely ridiculous, really being able to check that thing super well. And be able to toxic and teleport, and with analytic, you can actually not be the most passive thing in the world and really break those subs and those bonds that think they can take advantage of you. So I like Porygon a lot, and I think it's actually pretty solid here. And yeah, that's gonna be our team right over there. Yeah, it's really fun. I actually really like my team this season. It's a lot of mons I'm very comfortable with using, and a couple that I haven't really gotten the chance to use yet that I really want to try, and I'm really excited to be given the opportunity to. Mainly being Marshadow and Milo. I've used Melmetal in one Showdown League, but I haven't used it too much, so I'm excited to use that again. And I haven't used Salamence on Wi-Fi ever, so I'm hoping to get plenty of kills to my boy. I'm totally gonna stress for men's kills. I hope you guys know I'm bringing that thing like every week. But let me know what you guys think of my team in the comments below. Let me know what you would change about it. Let me know what you love about it. Let me know what you think is super bad about it. I love having discussions like that, and I love to interact with you guys and have you guys tell me what you think about my stuff. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching again. Drop a like if you haven't done so already. Definitely sub. Check out all the coaches in the description below. They will be linked. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next one. Later.